So hi guys, so for this next part, I've got G with me. She's our head of content. She runs this workflow with the writers every day. So instead of me just telling you how it works, she's going to walk you through the parts she owns. G, say hi, tell them what you do.
Hi everyone, I'm G. I'm the content head. I coordinate with the writers and also help manage all the content. And what else? I also help assign the tasks to our writers.
Going to share my screen. Page selection phase. So this phase one is a page selection. Before anyone writes anything, we answer 6 questions. Is this a new or an updated or an update? What type of page? What's keyword? What's the intent? What's the conversation goal? What existing page does this support? If you can't answer this, so you're not ready to write. So G, before we had this step, what's happening? How were topics getting picked?
Yeah, so before topics, we would assign the writers topics, and while they already have the assigned topics, sometimes they don't have the keywords that they need. They don't really know the intent of the page or the post that they're writing or what the conversion goal is. So these things are important to cover so that everything is aligned before they start writing. Also, having these 6 questions up front saves so much back and forth between us and the SEO team as well.
Thank you for that. Phase two is the content brief. This is a template feeds everything. Fill it out before you open any AI you use, Claude, GPT, and then with the client name, page type, primary keyword, supporting keywords, audience, intent, internal links, trust elements, CTA, compliance, notes if there's any. So G, how strict are we about this? Does every piece of content need a full brief?
The rule is every piece of content now gets a brief. In practice, some fields like compliance notes, they only apply to legal or medical clients. But the core fields here, keyword, intent, audience, and the CTA, those are non-negotiable. So hopefully with this SOP, our writers will not forget those notes to include in their content brief.
So these are very detailed notes that we're going to be placing on other tab, right? And
Yes,
then
correct.
phase three, research. So after the brief, of course, before the draft, G, this one's yours. Walk us through how you and the writers actually do this step.
Yes. So when we start with a content brief and then look at what's already ranking for that keyword, we usually use the GSC data. We use Perplexity and Claude to find related questions and supporting angles, but we don't just take whatever the AI suggests. We always cross check it with the GSC data when we have it, which Chill also taught us early on. The other thing is client specific information. So if the client has a specific process or specific credentials, results, that also goes in the research notes because generic content loses to specific content every time.
And where do we keep our research notes?
We include it in the brief as well. So in the content brief. Yeah.
Hmm? Yeah, you're going to provide, right? Or have they already know how to do this step, right?
Yeah, it's just a matter of including because this is a new SOP. So we haven't yet instructed the writers where exactly to place the research notes, but this will also be included in the content brief. So it's just one tab where everything with regards to the content they're writing, everything is there already.
I know like you don't want to show it now because like it's some also like internal secret sauce. Phase 4 is where you start writing, or more accurately, where you start prompting. But AI is just an assistant, not autopilot. And
Correct.
let us show you what happens when you just let it run. So we have example here. Actually, two examples from the example sites we had, and this is more relevant for we have a visitor G here, and this is a raw AI draft for a white label SEO page. So the opening starts with the brand name and goes straight into the innovative digital solutions and ever-changing digital landscape. Leverage appears 5 times. We can confirm that. Leverage. Oh, yeah, it's right. Appearing 9 times actually. So, and holistic 3 times. Elevate 4 times. The brand name shows up 6 times in a 400 words. And then the CTA or the call to action repeats 3 times. And there's a whole paragraph that says like absolutely nothing concrete. So G,
Mhm.
when the team first started using AI for drafting, what patterns were you catching?
I think for the most part, one of the biggest was in the intros. Every draft would start with a brand name and then two or three sentences of filler before they get into the actual topic. So the brand name was very, how do you say? It's repeated multiple times, even in the intro itself. The other pattern that we noticed was repeated CTAs, like the AI would close every section with contact us today when in a slightly different wording. So we also noticed a lot of M dashes, and that's actually one of the easiest tells that it's AI written, those M dashes.
Mhm.
It's changed the way I've looked at M dashes now.
Yeah, right. So it's pretty like you can really right away spot if there's an M dashes and it's more often written or generated by
Mhm.
AI. I also like want to address this that we will not remove it totally. We just reduce using it because yeah,
Mhm.
if it's related for the word,
Mhm.
especially like those leverage,
You cannot avoid using them in that
yes.
context. Yes, I
So
agree.
yes. So not saying that we are not using it, we just reduce using
Mhm.
most obvious AI patterns. So here's a good draft should include not every page need every element, but this is the menu, clear H1, direct opening answer block, simple intro, service explanation, who's it's for, process, trust, section, FAQ or frequently asked question, call to action, internal linking notes, and media suggestions. So the key rule is the first section answers the questions quickly. So no opening with brand promotions or welcome to my brand. And yeah, with the delve holistic, innovative, no more kind of part of that. So this is the most, what's this? Same question. Yeah. This is the drop should be standardized and what we should be. And I believe this is already been implemented on our
Yes, for the
SOP, right?
most part. Yes, most of
So
it is.
yeah, and also G this schema notes with what's the page or have those context based on that brief, what this page is about. So if it's a service, and then that will be like a service schema as well. It's more for on-page theme.
Okay.
That's just to answer this. And if it's correct, we use the Google snippet checker, or the one that I taught you about the fact schema. Remember, that's
Mm,
we will do to
okay.
verify. Mhm.
Mhm.
Now we are almost done. And then phase five. Phase five is where you turn AI outputs into something a real person would write. G, this is your zone. Walk us through the cleanup checklist.
Mhm. Okay, thanks, Jill. Well, first thing that we look for, as mentioned earlier, are M dashes. But as Jill mentioned, we don't have to remove all of the M dashes. We can keep them as long as they are appropriate for that sentence. But if we can still break up the sentence using commas, or just end the sentence with a period. You can also use semicolons. So yeah, as much as we can, we try to avoid using M dashes, but like Chill said, we can still use them. So it's not like an absolute no M dash rule, okay? Then we have filler words. We Chill has provided us a list of these filler words like delve, unpack, navigate, leverage. We see this a lot. We see these words a lot in AI generated content. We have holistic, elevate, foster. So if any of these show up, we remove them or replace them. If it is necessary, we can rewrite the entire sentence so we can avoid using these filler words. But again, it's not an absolute no filler words rule. So just reduce as much as we can. Maybe we can have like one or two filler words, right, Chill?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also check for unrepeated brand mentions. The brand name should appear maybe once or twice, but not in every paragraph. So maybe once in every section would be safe, right? Also, vague paragraphs are the hardest to catch, but they sound professional. But if you read the paragraph and can't explain what it actually says, then it's a filler. So you can just remove that. I've seen a lot of these vague paragraphs where you read it and you go, like, even the heading makes no sense. That's probably a tell for you not to include that paragraph anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember asking you this, G, like, is this called vague? Because for this example content here, Hamilton and
Mhm.
Reed Law is committed to providing trusted legal advocacy for individuals navigating the complexities of personal injury matters and an ever-changing legal landscape. Our team understands that every case is unique, and team takes a comprehensive approach designed to support clients to support in every stage. Is that called vague, right? Because I read a lot of words, but it sounds so smart, but I don't. Whereas this kind of content here, I like this because it's more direct, and me
Mhm.
that don't understand their niche or don't
Right.
understand. Yeah, right. You agree
Correct.
with me?
Yeah. Usually, yes, the more informative or authoritative sounding content, they tend to have a lot of filler words, a lot of, how can you say, they're high sounding words. They sound very professional, but they don't really add a lot of value to the reader. Yeah.
And I hate that kind of thing. Because like me, not really well, not good reader or not like reading. I don't like
Mm-hmm.
reading stuff. I just want the answer or the thing I
Mm-hmm.
want right away.
Mm-hmm.
Continue. What about the read it out loud test?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the final check. So writers should read their content out loud. And if it sounds too robotic, which tends to be the case, or you stumble over a sentence, a visitor will too. So if you wouldn't say it in a real conversation, then it's better that you just rewrite it. Yeah.
I think it's a good, like I already said, can a normal visitor understand, answer quickly
Mm-hmm.
without reading?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's
Exactly.
be always the question you will ask when reading your content. Phase 6 is quality checks, grammar, spelling, factual accuracy, compliance. The big rule is do not promise things that actual intake flow can't deliver. If the page says speak to an attorney today, but the intake team answers the phone, that's a problem. So G, what tools do you or what your team uses for this step?
Yeah. Thank you, Chill. For grammar, spelling, factual accuracy, and compliance, we have a number of tools that we use. We run Grammarly first for grammar and spelling. Actually, prior to Grammarly, the writers already have the grammar and spelling check through AI. But after that, they go through another round with Grammarly and they check for what's that plagiarism. We also check for plagiarism score, so the minimum is, what's the minimum score? 5. So the minimum score that we should hit for plagiarism is 5. Then we also have compliance prompts that check the misleading language, especially for legal and medical clients. It's really a no for them to use misleading language. And if anything feels off, we flag it for client review instead of just guessing. Yeah.
Can you like explain more about like what misleading language
Ah,
most of yeah.
yes. Well, what do you call it? They cannot promise, they cannot guarantee a result. So if, for example, the lawyer will say, if you hire me, you will not go to jail. Yeah,
Oh.
I can assure you that you will not go to
Mm.
jail. They cannot use those promises because there's really no guarantee when it comes to legal matters, right? Legal proceedings. So they cannot make those claims.
So if I'm a doctor, I cannot say that if you come to my clinic, you will get better, right? Right
Yes.
away.
Well, yes, right. Or yeah, something like that. Yes, we have to adjust the language. Of course, we want to tell them that their health will improve, but we just cannot, we have to be careful with the language that we do not give guarantees.
So
Yes.
that's why I noticed that there's no. I read one most of your content written, so I noticed that there's no experience or no kind of like words
Experts.
like that.
Yeah, we don't use the
Ah,
word experts. Yes. What
experts, yeah. So
else? Yeah.
that's one of the misleading or
Yes.
very
Mhm.
good to know that. So thank you for
And
that,
in
G.
line, oh, sorry,
Go
just
ahead, go
to,
ahead, go ahead. Go ahead, G.
yeah, just in line with this, with the compliance, we also add disclaimers in every
Mm.
piece of content for the legal and medical clients. We have disclaimers. Yeah.
And, and what mostly that disclaimer is saying, or what's the disclaimer? What are they trying to disclaim?
Mhm. Yeah, basically that, for example, for legal clients or for lawyers, we say that reading this post does not give you attorney and client privilege or something like that. Or this is just general information. This is not legal advice.
Advice.
This is not
Okay.
something like that. Yeah. The same with with doctors. Reading this post is general information. This is not medical advice. So you still need to seek a doctor for your
Mm.
case because every case is different.
Do they get in trouble when they don't have those disclaimers?
Absolutely, yes,
Ooh.
yes. they get in
That's
trouble with their bar associations. Yes, so
mhm.
they that's why the clients really have to be, or sorry, the writers really have to be careful with these guarantees, and with
Mm.
they have to make sure that we have the disclaimers in every piece of content.
That's why you guys are really so particular with the quality assurance part. Uh,
Yes.
where also there's a note like question about where do we put disclaimers? Where does the disclaimer should be put? Is it
Mm-hmm.
on every bottom of the page or to be like generalized in the footer?
Yes, our practice is that we place it in the footer so
Mhm.
that even if the writers forget, they're safe. We still have it there, but as a practice, we just place it in every piece of content. But yes, for our legal and medical clients, we place them in the footer. And because for press releases, we cannot place a footer for their PR, so we really have to place it manually, the
Mhm.
disclaimers.
So that's why it's much safe than like having them in trouble. We don't want that clients will
Yes,
get in trouble because of the content. so
definitely.
so yeah,
So
and
just on the safe side, yes.
yeah, and for the safe side. And now this is the part most teams skip, and it causes the most confusion. The handoff where a writer finish a draft, they don't just send the doc, they send a handoff note. So page title, document link, primary keyword, supporting keywords, recommended category, internal links, suggested FAQ, which I will give context later, trust elements, and media suggestions, client review, flag, and notes. This takes the writer 5 minutes and save the on-page team hours of guessing. So G, we had this. What was the biggest problem when content reach on page?
Mm-hmm. That's a question for the unpaged team. No,
But I can
I'm kidding. I'm
speak.
kidding.
Yeah, I can
Yes.
speak on the on page. So yeah, I also worked on page before. What my problem most of the time is I don't have this thing right here,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which you notice when I go optimize the page before, I go back and understand the page again, what's its primary keyword,
Mm-hmm.
supporting, and then what is the page, especially this one, because we are having the problem before about competing the main service page with a category page. And then I don't have idea where do you want me to link it or what's the relevant blog or relevant services it also needs to be linked to. And then this
Mm-hmm.
FAQ is oh just generated like how did you guys generate it before without knowing about where to get this FAQ?
Usually we use, what's it called? I forgot. Answer the Public, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah, yeah,
think Answer the Public. Yeah, that's where
yeah,
we got it.
before.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, the FAQ and that answer the public is most not really like the thing is being searched on the location where we
Mm-hmm.
try to
Mm-hmm.
target the page. So yeah, but we have the process with I know writers already know how to get this question and how we can answer it in a way that making our client the more real experience they had and the real answers they answer for the questions
Mm-hmm.
got we got from people also us and we have the process with that. It's so complicated to explain here, but yeah, that's the problem I had before. And also this one, I just get tons of stock media, no alt text, no image
Mm-hmm.
optimization been done. videos has been like embedded just for the sake of embed, no HTML, but we are already changing these steps. This is the
Mm-hmm.
problem before for the on-page team. We don't know where this page will go through, what's its purpose. Like this one, trust elements. We don't have this before, right?
Mm-hmm.
And testimonial, process or step, etc. Lot of
Mm-hmm.
trust elements we need to include. We don't have that before. Phase 8 is
Content.
about on-page optimization. This happens before publishing, title tag, meta description, URL, headings, internal linking, layout, schema, category structure, fact, trust elements, CTA, cannibalization, risk. I cannot show you a client sample, but yeah, that's what we need for this phase on-page optimization checklist. The team already knows how to do that and a sample. So category cannibalization. If your homepage target white label SEO for your service page does two. This website disclaimer again. I don't. This is for training purposes. It's
Mm-hmm.
not yet done. A template. So if our target is web white label SEO or SEO execution, that should be our service page does too. They compete. So the SOP rules, categories must not compete with the service page for the same intent. Proceed na tayo. Schema AI can suggest it, but on-page validates the Google rich result. So again, to validate, you need this tool. You will test the page, and then after that, you will know what's lacking. Does it have correct article schema? Does it have
Mm-hmm.
the type? These are the keywords, who the author, the type, and then URL. Yeah, the main name, what type, and then the FAQ, like questions. Do you have the answer? So this is FAQ schema here. So that's the thing we need to check using this rich result test by Google. There's an error, that's the time we will fix it and it will automatically prompt you where the error on your page before we hit publish. That's for on page. And now phase 9. Content goes live. But publishing is where the content starts working across the rest of the system. Every published page is a source asset. It feeds social media, aligns with the GBP or Google Business Profile, becomes a video transcript, and gets repurposed. When you publish, share it with anyone whose work it supports. So you already know this when
Mm-hmm.
a new blog, a new page, or any published things you have, you will prompt the team, right? So what
Mm-hmm.
can you like also discuss a little with how we work on that?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So once the page is published by the web developer, she would usually, our current SOP is that she would post the link of that published page or blog post in the client's Slack channel. So that's where everybody can see the link. And I think it's just a matter of, because that's what we are currently doing. It's just a matter of tagging, I guess, the on-page team, social media, the video team as well, so that everybody can start working on that piece of content.
Do we have this is like for this version is for internal purposes. We can show a quick client newly
Mhm.
published blog if there's any. Can you remember one?
There's a new blog. Yeah, that was just posted on Tuesday.
How about Delta? Do we have new?
April 1st. Let's try March so that the social media team we have already. For March, blogs, initial disability applications, in that one. Not yet.
Initial.
Mm.
Not yet. But yeah, that's the thing that they will do from the blog that's been newly published. They will repurpose it throughout the site, social media.
You want to try
Facebook.
another one?
What?
Charles Sampson, you want to try another
Charles.
one? Cost of living on Hilton Head Island.
Oh, cost of living. Yeah. So, yeah, March 12. Are these
This one was published March 17.
March 17? Hoy, parang wala. March 17. Exploring the neighborhood, right? For cost of living.
Yeah.
We need to have our pages and blogs or any page content that we publish to our client site should be near perfect way, in a way that other team or other platforms will source to. Because right, if this foundation will be wrong, I can assure you guys that other platform will be wrong as well. Because right, G, that's why it's it important for content writers job to really provide the entire team well written, well checked, and like in this phase, proofreading, compliance, fact checking, humanization and cleanup, drafting, all these phases that we have gone through is having that one goal in mind, to give content that will be asset for social media, local SEO, GBP alignment, video creation, and repurpose. That was clearly stated in the meeting we had, G. So, share the final page topic with the related team if it supports their work stream. Because, yeah, SEO secret sauce again, we are using it to give power. That's what we called it in our internal team. Last phase is phase 10, performance review and update. So, tracking impression, click-through rate, clicks, positions, conversion. Google Search Console is the most underused tool here. It shows opportunity, like we can have sample. It can show us opportunity and queries here, and keywords people are using to find our page that we did not originally target. So that's what we called in our process opportunity keywords. Those tell you what to update. Pages are not done forever. We update based on data. That's why I suggested, G, I don't want to have an updated content where it comes from a prompt, because prompt doesn't have this context or what people are really using to look for. And before I close the checklist, writer, before you submit topic approved, brief completed, page answer and questions, intro not bloated, writing doesn't sound AI generated, and dashes removed, brand stuffing reduced, CTA makes sense, proofreading done, hand-ups included. Your final thought, G, on what's the one thing you want the team to take from this?
Yeah, I think what Ed always says, it should be like our process should be, I forgot the term he uses, but like one after the other. And so just guys, just follow the process. It's not complicated once you do it more than once. It's we need to keep practicing the SOP, just keep following the process. I know in the beginning it's a bit overwhelming, especially with the new SOPs that we've included here, but I'm sure that if we just stick to the process, it will make everything more efficient, not just for us writers, but even for the on-page team. And we thank you, Chill, for creating this SOP as well, because I know that your goal is really to make things efficient for all of us. So the brief and the handoff note are the two things that will really change everything for us, for the writing team and for the on page as well. So thank you, Chill.
So thank you also, G. And that's the full workflow. 10 faces, one document, one team. So if you're watching this as an agency owner or SEO, adapt it. The structure matters more than copying it exactly. This is the version 1, so it will change as we learn that what works. But having it written down and having everyone on the same page, that's already better than where most teams starts. So thanks for watching. I'm Chill and shout out to G for walking through the content side with us. This is version 1.
Wait
Thank
lang
you so
kita
much,
sa
G.